Okay, I give you the education now. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of farmland here. The Kingdom of the Netherlands. So this is actually a kingdom, and has a king, and it's been a kingdom for a couple of centuries now. It's a constitutional monarchy, which means they have a parliament, democracy, and head of state also. But the real head of state is the Dutch king. And so there's the Dutch royal family of Orange. And it's called the Netherlands because it's a low country. So below the sea level. Most of the country is under sea level. So what you're going to see along the way now, a lot of farms. So mostly the Netherlands' main export items are from farming, such as cucumbers. They produce the largest amount of cucumbers in the world. Cucumbers and also cheese, milk products, milk produce.
Kinukuha ko yung one tripod ko.
Cheeses. A lot of different types of cheeses which come from the Netherlands. Okay, tomorrow actually you get to check out the place.
Yun,
In Sanskans, I will take you into this small building where they show us how they make cheese, how they create the Dutch cheese, what is the process behind it, and after, of course, you get to do a bit of tasting. And if you like, you can also bring some home. So the country is famous for farming, and it's been farming in a very high level efficiency. The area is mostly lowlands. Also, they refer to the Netherlands as Holland. Holland. So you can say for the Dutch people, we can call them Dutch or Hollanders. They will understand. But actually, Holland is only just one part of the Netherlands. It's the northern part, two provinces called the Holland, okay, which is the lowest lowland. Okay, so that is two provinces of the Netherlands. So actually, tonight we're staying in that region of Holland. So why I like this country? Well, first of all, beautiful nature all around. I like the well-organized farms. I like farming, and I like to see how beautifully they make it happen here. And so one of the things is the farming, which is very good here, and the countryside actually. So the countryside is very different from their cities. We're going to be staying around the most populated areas, which is the Rotterdam, Den Haag, or the Hague, and also the city of Amsterdam, the capital city. So what's good here? Food is excellent, fresh produce, plenty, and also great variety of vegetables and good quality of life. So the Dutch people enjoy a great country actually, and very well organized, more or less. They have a good system working, more or less, serving the people of the Netherlands. And also their cities are very beautiful in their architecture and the roads. As you can see, the roads here are perfect now, more or less working quite well. You have to know that they have very high taxes here as well. Income tax pretty high, but they get a lot in return, like good social system and education, and also you have healthcare system which is more or less providing for all. Okay, and also in case you're losing your job, you get also quite good compensation. You pay about 80-90% of your salary. Yeah, I'm not sure about that for how long, but you get a nice break. So that helps keeps moving your life in a good direction anyway. But cost of living is pretty high. Well, depending on where you live, countryside a bit cheaper, of course. But if you live in one of the large cities, or like the Rotterdam or Amsterdam, Amsterdam is probably the most expensive for renting an apartment, and living costs are much higher there. So, what do we know about the Netherlands? Windmills, wooden shoes, tulips, and cheese. That's all there is, and also weed, marijuana, because that's one of their main attraction for a lot of tourists who come here, especially in the city of Amsterdam. But actually, in locals would have their own. They call it coffee shops. So coffee shop is not for coffee. Okay, it's not a cafe. It's a coffee shop. Coffee shop normally can be also a place where you can sit down and have a drink, like tea or coffee, but normally they're serving the local weed, weed, right? So here it's not legal, but not illegal. Yeah, wrap your head around that. So if you are, it's kind of in a gray area, which is kind of weird if you look at the legal thing behind it, because it is legal to carry it, like a couple of grams of the produce, but it's not legal to produce it. So I don't know, and nobody knows how do they get it in the shop. So imagine it's illegal to carry a large amount or sell it, but they still have it in the store. So who knows how they do it? Nobody knows. So actually, the country is famous for shipping. Okay, we're also going to talk about the history in a minute. Shipping industry. Rotterdam is the largest port of Europe. That's where we're going to stay tonight. So Rotterdam is one of the most important cities for the industry of export-import for Europe. So a lot of the produce from other parts of the world and things, material goods, coming into and leaving from the place which we call Rotterdam. Okay. Other parts also have smaller ports, like Amsterdam also have a port, but mostly all the goods go through this port, Rotterdam. So that is also a very beautiful city, which we're going to stay nearby tonight. So I would definitely recommend, guys, even if you're tired, get a look inside. It's not far away. It's pretty safe. Nice city, beautiful architecture, pretty modern. Okay, so it's very different from the city of Amsterdam in terms of their architecture, because the Second World War, a lot of buildings were destroyed in the city of Rotterdam. So Amsterdam retains the old looks, and Rotterdam is mostly the modern, more chic, more I don't know, just modern in a way. Yeah, so they have more like high-rise buildings and so on. And also it's a center for trading, so a lot of the trading companies are located in their offices are there and so on. Amsterdam is more or less is the capital city, and also it's more or less the capital for tourism, and the Hague is the seat of the government, the Hague, and also that is the residency of the royal family, so that's where they have the official place where they're living. So in the Netherlands, you will see a lot of canals, not just in the cities, but outside. As we go through the farmland, you will see a lot of places around the fields. You will see a lot of man-made canals. So because if you go back in a couple of centuries, this was a swamp, yeah, marshlands, because of the location under the sea level. So mostly flooded areas. Not really good for building anything. So the Dutch are very famous for their engineering skills. Also, they were the first ones using windmills as a technology for manufacturing. Okay, so the windmills were used also to pump the water from out of the fields, creating more land for agriculture. So all that you see now here, before it was covered in water. Everything was covered in water, more or less, or some bushland and some trees. And now it's only, what you see is mainly things already used up. Like all the land that is free, it's already agriculture, using it for farming, cattle farming, cows, and for also different produce like corn and other things that any other country would have in Europe. So these are the main produce items in the Netherlands, right? So that's the main exports. And also tourism. Tourism is one of the main key factors for the large cities. A lot of people come here for their vacations, especially to the city of Amsterdam. So tomorrow actually we get to see the main city, Amsterdam as well, but we're going to see first the old style village, Sanzeskans. Okay, so for many centuries actually Dutch were farmers. The majority of the people were farmers, farmland and working out on the fields. So most of the places were only small towns, villages. You still have those villages, but most of the population is located in the large cities. Yeah, so the history of the place starts after the Franks. They start invading some of the lands here. So some of the people here, and also connecting to the region's history. So Belgium and the Netherlands were also once, with Luxembourg as well, was once one area referred to as the Netherlands, actually the Kingdom of the Netherlands before. But throughout the history, a lot of things changed. So in the beginning, this was only part of another, kind of like a province. It was a province of another kingdom, which was ruled by the Spanish Habsburgs. The Spanish Habsburgs were the rulers, and then there's a big shift happening because the revolt and the war between the Dutch and the Spanish were the most important in the history for the kind of like a revolution, a revolt of the Dutch against the Habsburg rule, because they were the Spanish actually who ruled the lands and took advantage of the people who lived here. And the Dutch people actually wanted to break away. They always been kind of like outcasts in their own place, so they decided to take the control of their own lands. Okay, and the first king who helped that happen was William of Orange. William of Orange, the first king of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, free Kingdom of the Netherlands. Also in the time of the French Revolution, the French invaded the country, but later on still stayed kind of independent, and after the end of the French Empire they became again an independent nation in Europe. So the most important time of this all hundreds of years of history is the Dutch Golden Age. The Dutch Golden Age is the most important because that is the time of exploration and also the time of global trade systems. So that is the first time in period of wealth coming into Europe through trading to the northern part of America and also South America, mostly colonized by the Spaniards, and the Dutch colonized some of the Indies. They call them Indies, the Southeast Asia, right? Some of the countries in Southeast Asia, like also Indonesia, and they were building their own colony based on trading. Okay, they had been having wars with the English as well, the Brits, the British, because everyone was fighting for taking the most cut in trading on the seas, right? And the Dutch were very clever. They formed their own armada of ships that they created for trading. So they had their own henchmen protecting their own fleet against any other nation or any pirates on the way. Before that, it was very difficult to basically do the trading because mostly private contractors try to get their ships to the Middle East and the Far East and to the Southeast Asia or India, and so on those routes it was very dangerous waters and small chance of success. So mostly private people would invest to build a ship, hire a crew, and pay a hefty sum to get them to bring back some goods, mostly spices. First it was spices that was the most lucrative trading asset. And so the Dutch, they noticed that it is kind of a gamble. You could get the ship together and the crew, and then they would sail away and come back with nothing, or don't even come back at all. So imagine you spend something, a lot of fortune, and then you get zero in return. So the risk was very high, but the return was also great, maybe 4-5 times your expenses. So that's a good trade even today if you put that on the stock market, right? You get 5 times return, that's 500%, right? So that's not too bad. But they see that there is another way to do it. So they got together and decided that they formed a company. Actually, this was the first company, the Dutch East India Company, which is the most famous corporation in the history, and was one of the largest at the peak of the Dutch Golden Age. So, which meant that they had a company which had insurance, and they insured the return on an investment. So they kind of stabilized the market on trading and created also the first stock exchange. Okay, so which meant they could bet on the goods that were coming in, how much they will have and how much they can sell it for. So this was a global trading unit, which was the first of its kind on the planet, which made the Dutch one of the richest countries, even though the size was very small. That attracted a lot of people to come and live in the Netherlands in the 17th century. And then later on, of course, they lose some of their colonies because of the wars with the British. Actually, New York was once owned by the Dutch, and they lost it to the British in one of the wars that they lost. It was the last war fought between England and the Dutch over the territories, and so they had to give it to the British. Yeah, so that was one of the things. They call it New Amsterdam before. New York, the island of Manhattan, was owned by them, and then they gave it to the British. Okay, so later on, so the 17th century is the Dutch Golden Age. Okay, so this is the time, turbulent time for innovation, for shipbuilding, also for weaponizing the fleet, and also so this is the famous time also for art. Okay, Rembrandt and famous Dutch painters coming into the scene. So a lot of things happen in that time period, and the building of these new beautiful cities, especially the city of Amsterdam, which we will see tomorrow. It was built as a rich trading merchant city. And that's why you have all these beautiful buildings all around the city, the canals. And yeah, so that is the main thing about the Netherlands that is most important. Okay, today it's a very different place. It's a very modern country, and you will see the architecture as well, modern cities, very high quality, and also the roads, the railroads, and everything else is just working perfectly because they invest a lot back into their infrastructure. Okay, that's very important for a successful nation to have all the good roads, good railroads, good connections. Like Schiphol Airport is one of the largest and busiest airports in Europe, which also brings in a lot of people as tourists or whoever travels. Some of the people will come through the area which is called Schiphol. Schiphol is the airport nearby Amsterdam. Okay, there are other many airports. By Eindhoven there is one, and also, but it's not international. It's just local flights into Europe. Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to start off in the morning with visiting the place called Zanzeskans. Zanzeskans have collected a few windmills, and they actually moved it there because windmills were actually all around the place before, but they fell out of use because of technology improvement. So anymore they don't really use it for nothing, but before they used it for creating paint and grinding whatever needed to be grinded, and it was one of the main things in the Netherlands because it can get quite windy. So that's one of the energy source they harnessed back in the day. Now you have the electric turbine windmills right around the place. Also, the Netherlands is one of the leading economies for trying to get all the cars out which are not electric by 2030. So they're focusing on the development of charging stations, and you will see a lot of Teslas for sure, especially in large cities. Of course, most people still who cannot afford electric cars, they are using whatever there is, but mostly people are focusing on changing to new ways of getting around, more clean energy usage. Okay, also to preserve nature and have good air, right? So in the morning we're going to see the windmills in Zanzeskans, and also it's a kind of farming village. We get to see some farm animals, local farm animals, like some goats, sheep, and so on, and some strangely huge chickens. Yeah, you'll see them, you get scared, like huge, massive pieces. Yeah. You never know, they're remnants of dinosaurs. Yeah, but yeah, they have some strange looking chickens there, and yeah, other kind of farm animals. And we get to see the making of the wooden shoes, guys. The clocks. Very stylish. You can buy one pair. Yeah, so actually we get to see the making of the wooden shoes. Pretty interesting stuff. And then also get to taste some good old cheese. Yeah, so we're gonna see the way they will explain us about the making of the Dutch cheese, the traditional cheese making, and after that there is something that we can do together if you guys want, because the Dutch are famous for fishing and they live by the sea. There is a town called Volendam. Volendam is the most famous fisher village in Netherlands, and normally I can also take you there if everyone joins up for it. The cost for the detour, having the lunch by the sea in the fish village, it costs 10 euros per person. Okay, if everyone wants to go, I can take you all there, and you get to taste the herring, which is raw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to, but something I recommend for those who like fish, then have the experience of eating raw fish. Of course, you can have it cooked.
Yeah, okay.
There is a nice restaurant by the seaside where you can have also some fish soup,
I like that.
which is cooked fish already inside. So,
Yes.
that's more tasty as well. But for those who feel adventurous, you can try and eat some herrings. Yeah, so that's something. They also have like pickled fish and yeah, so very strange stuff. But for if you want fresh seafood, is there all kind of stuff. So because it's right next to the sea, right? And then we will go into the city of Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, we're going to take the cruise, the Canal Cruise. Okay, so the Canal Cruise takes about an hour 10 minutes on the rivers and canals of Amsterdam. So I would definitely recommend to everyone because it's a must if you visit Amsterdam. Everyone does it. The reason being, it's one of the best ways to explore. Same like when we went to Venice, you saw the canals and getting on the gondolas. It's a great experience. But in a boat, you get to sit and also get to see some parts of the city from a different angle from the waters. Okay, so because back in the day, people had no cars, really, just maybe they were riding the horse, but most of the people would use the ships and small boats to get around the canals of the city. Okay, so this one cost 15 euros. Okay, 15 euros. That's the official price in every other company, but we get private boats for ourselves if everything is going well, or at least most of us will be in the same place. We'll reserve the boat for you guys tomorrow, and I mean today, and then tomorrow we get to do the cruise, and then also we visit Coastal Diamond Factory, which is a short visit. We get to tour inside the museum, and we get to see some of these craftsmen grinding their gears and then you know, working on polishing diamonds, because diamond trade in the Netherlands goes back for centuries. Okay, so this is one of the things which is very famous for the Netherlands. City of Rotterdam was one of the centers, and another one for trading diamonds and polishing them, Amsterdam city. Okay, so Coastal Diamond visit, and after that we are going to visit the most important part of the city, which is the area of the Damrak. Damrak is the main street, kind of like the Champs-Élysées in Paris. It's a large boulevard built connecting the Dam Square, which is the area of the old royal palace, and the other side is the central station of Amsterdam. So normally we can spend some time there in that area. That's the most popular place to visit. You have the shopping places and also a lot of bars, cafes, and then you have the red light district. Red light district is a tourist attraction. You might know what is it about. Yeah, you've heard of the red light district. I'm not going into detail about what's happening there. You'll figure it out once you get there. But it's more or less like an attraction, but it's a shopping mall for something else, if you know what I mean. So that's, if you feel like, okay, this is something not for you, don't go there. But you know, it's nothing, you don't see nothing out of order because everyone is wearing clothes there. Okay, so but you will see on the streets there are different windows, and inside the windows you see no clothes but ladies, mostly ladies, but sometimes you see something else. But normally there are some working ladies in there, and they're doing a different kind of job, a service. Yeah, so that is the red light district. Also, for those who will go inside, remember, you cannot take photos of the working personnel in the windows. That's not allowed. Okay. In the area also you have a lot of bars, cafes, coffee shops, and some museums. Okay, so the museums also very interesting stuff that you can learn about the area's history. Okay, if you're not interested in the red light district, also you can go and visit the house of Anne Frank, but you have to make sure that you check for the available tickets, because sometimes people just go there and they figure it out there that you cannot go inside. So the house of Anne Frank, probably you know who Anne Frank was. there's a famous story, yeah. So the Jewish girl who was hiding in the attic in the time of the Nazi occupation of the Netherlands, and her and her family tried to escape the horrible things that the Nazis were doing with the Jewish population. And yeah, so that's one of the places which became very famous after publishing the book about her diary. So it's basically Anne Frank's diary, which was written into a book, and then later becoming one of the most famous stories of the Jewish people in the time of the Second World War. Okay, so that's one of the things also in the area, but a lot of interesting stuff to see and do, and definitely recommend guys to explore. This is one of the most interesting cities in Europe for sure. A lot of great architecture, center for music and museums, art collections, and all that, just crammed into one place. That is Amsterdam. Okay, so guys, question before you go back to sleep. So everyone wants to go to the Fisher Village.